Welcome to this week's edition of Sun News at Noon. I'm Katie Walker.
And I'm Amy Glockner. Thanks for tuning in.
This year's Utah Tech Drag Show was entirely funded by the LGBTQ+ Club rather than the Center for Inclusion and Belonging. Due to House Bill 261, the drag show is no longer included in the school-sponsored Wednesday events. Mikey Nelson, the director of Student Belonging, said that clubs can still host these types of events despite the changes. The drag show continued on providing inclusion and belonging for university students.
Our queer community is still strong and still fighting. The queer community is louder and is trying to fight for our right to exist and just to inhabit our own space as well. I'm glad that Utah Tech actually strives to have queer stuff on campus and the students strive to have stuff on campus. It's shocking and it's very healing to know that there's a community here, and I have always wanted to do drag, I just didn't know it. It's the ability to just be weird, and it lets me be my most authentic self with being applauded instead of disregarded. You can be as weird and wild as you can. Drag is not just one thing, it is everything.
At Utah Tech, the sky is just the beginning. The university's Rocket Club plans to build and test a rocket engine by the end of the year. This project involves constructing a powerful liquid rocket engine similar to those used by SpaceX and National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Club members say their project is sponsored by RAM Aviation, Space and Defense, and OnShape to provide necessary resources to bring this project to life. Thomas Veradine, club president, says this project is one of 2 rocket initiatives that the club created purely out of interest. They're currently working on securing formal approval with hopes of having this project included in the events scheduled by May.
Hajime Sakai is this year's male winner of the 48th annual St. George Half Marathon with a time of 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 13 seconds. Sakai is from Ibigawa, Japan. Ibigawa is St. George's sister city. Sister cities are long-term partnerships formed between communities in different countries. A delegation is welcomed every year in conjunction with the marathon.
As fall approaches, the summer heat continues to linger. On October 1st, it was 100 degrees, making the latest triple-digit day ever recorded in St. George. Thankfully, the temperature finally drops to the low 90s, bringing some relief. According to the National Weather Service, it is due to climate change, fueled by greenhouse gas emissions. Don't let the month of October fool you, students. Be sure to hydrate, use sun protection, and take precautions to avoid heat exhaustion. I can't imagine running a marathon in that heat. I would sweat just watching them run.
It was very hot. It was 97 degrees that day, so imagine that, but you're also running 26 miles.
That's crazy.
A St. George man was arrested in relation to the January 6th insurrection riots. The riots occurred in Washington, D.C. following the 2020 elections. Thousands of Trump supporters gathered in Washington to support claims that the results of the election were false. In the years following the arrests, over 1,400 individuals have been charged in relation to the riots. 48-year-old Christopher Jordan was arrested on felony charges of assault, resisting officers, and obstruction of law enforcement. The FBI arrested Jordan in St. George. The arrest comes after extensive review of footage and documents by the FBI.
A 40-year-old man fell to his death in Zion National Park. The man accidentally fell approximately 150 to 200 feet while rappelling near the Upper Emerald Pools. Officials arrived on the scene and began preliminary life-saving efforts. The man was extracted from the canyon to life flight, where he was pronounced dead before reaching the hospital. 3 other members of the group were extracted from the canyon unharmed in the following hours. After the break, Ben Dawson will be back with an update on Utah Tech athletics and more.
Across the country, there are destinations that are calling. We stand proudly above the ranks, a testament to our unwavering commitment to excellence in all that we do. Always embracing the extraordinary. 9 dynamic cities, home to 9 world-class institutions. The Western Athletic Conference. Together, we are one WAC.
On campuses nationwide, the NCAA is making transformative changes for student athletes. While they pursue their biggest dreams, we're launching new initiatives to help them. Life-changing education opportunities are just the start. The NCAA is providing enhanced mental health services. We're guaranteeing scholarships and tuition and expanding access to healthcare. Visit ncaa.org/change to learn more.
The Professional Golfers Association is returning to St. George for the first time in 60 years. Black Desert Resort in Ivins is hosting the PGA, but there are concerns about the resort's ability to host a large influx of people for the PGA. Katie Walker has more.
Utah is welcoming back the PGA for the first time since 1963. Black Desert Resort, a brand new establishment in Ivins, is slated to host the PGA competition this weekend. St. George is expecting a huge influx of people in town for the PGA. However, concerns have been raised about where attendees will park while attending the actual event. Just days before the event, Black Desert took to social media to announce parking areas for the attendees. They also announced a partnership with the St. George Shuttle that will take guests from parking lots spread throughout St. George to the actual resort. Tech Ridge, located right above Bluff Street, is one of the PGA parking areas. This lot behind me is designated for the Grounds Pass, which is one of the more affordable passes available and is unfortunately sold out for most days. Uneven ground might make parking difficult for some vehicles. For those attending the event, be sure you know what pass you have and where you can park to ensure safe and smooth travel. For Sun News, I'm Katie Walker.
For Utah Tech football, a 60-14 loss against North Alabama University comes to show the team simply can't seem to win a game. The offensive struggles came back with Utah Tech's four-string quarterback Bronson Barbin now seeing playing time in an attempt to find someone who can perform under center. Utah Tech sits at 0-6 halfway through the season and will need to completely turn it around to even look at a chance at the NCAA FCS playoffs. The Trailblazers defense allows on average 49 points per game, while the offense only scores on average 18 points per game. Utah Tech starts the second half of its season Saturday in Stephenville, Texas against Tarleton State University at 6 p.m. On the contrary, the Utah Tech volleyball team continues its best season ever since the transition to the Division I level. Last week, the Trailblazers beat Utah Valley University for the first time ever in program history, sweeping UVU 3-0. They followed that up Saturday with a 4-set loss in Cedar City to Southern Utah University. The Trailblazers currently sit in second place in the WAC. The Trailblazers carry on with the season tonight at 6 p.m. here in St. George against fourth-ranked WAC opponent Grand Canyon University. The Utah Tech men's soccer team is now tied for third in the nation in red cards, following their most recent game last Sunday. In the game, the Trailblazers received 2 red cards in their matchup against San Diego State University. Utah Tech was down 2 men for a large portion of the game and only lost to San Diego 1-0. Utah Tech also fell in the previous game last Thursday to California Baptist University 2-1 in the Trailblazers conference home opener. Utah Tech is officially Division I and is eligible to compete in NCAA tournaments. Utah Tech Athletic Director Ken Beezer expands on this transition.
Utah Tech University is through the transition into Division I athletics. First and foremost, for the athletes and for the university, it means that we are now we have full claim on NCAA postseason championship events, which is really big because that's what you play for in athletics, the opportunity to play at the highest level and compete for championships. And for the 4 years of transition, we were not eligible to compete for championships, and now that we are, our athletes can have that motivation to continue to work for that and to participate at the highest level and the highest stages that the NCAA has to offer. On another note, that also allows us now that we can receive NCAA distribution revenue. We haven't been able to for the 4 years of the transition, and now that we're eligible for that revenue, it's going to help us out monetarily and with our budgets. The whole basis of intercollegiate athletics is to improve, to get better, and be the best you can possibly be. Whether it's some of our individual events like track and field and swimming, where it's PRs, your personal record. I mean, that's what you're driving for. The team sports, where championships, just striving to get to that pinnacle of whatever it is, whatever sports you have that you want to do. I mean, that's the nature of all of our sport programs, and that's what they come in with, is the idea to compete and be successful at the highest level. Now, success is measured various ways, but the metric that everybody uses is how many wins and losses you have. And our teams are right there. They all come into the season, fully expecting to compete for conference championships. And that's how I measure success. It's not how many championships we win, but it's the opportunity where you come into the season where you have an expectation of being able to compete for that championship.
The UFC returned to the Delta Center in Salt Lake City last weekend. The most recent UFC 307 event marks the 4th time the mixed martial arts promotion has been to Salt Lake. The event hosts fans from everywhere who traveled to watch the thrilling event. The sold-out crowd drew several students from Utah Tech who made the trip up to Salt Lake. The event was headlined by Alex Pereira, the Brazilian former professional kickboxer turned UFC champion, and Khalil Roundtree Jr., who was the 4th-ranked light heavyweight. The two clashed for the light heavyweight championship, in which Alex Pereira won in fourth round via a vicious body shot knockout. I personally love that Utah has so many sporting events. They have the UFC the past several years. They just got a hockey team, and there's talks that a baseball team, the Oakland A's, is going to move to Salt Lake next year.
I'm looking forward to heading up north and checking out some of these events.
Can I catch a ride?
Yeah.
And that's it for this week's edition of Sun News at Noon. Thanks for tuning in.
We will see you here next week, same time, same place.
Have a great week, Trailblazers.